Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Kress, and I teach senior yoga at the Londonderry Senior Center. Given that it's been a few months since we were able to hold classes, we thought that we'd join you in your home and bring a little yoga into your life during this pandemic. So I'd like you to begin by seating yourself in a comfortable position. As you can see, I'm seated on the floor, but you always have the opportunity to practice your yoga in a chair, preferably one that doesn't slide on the floor, one that has an upright back, one that is steady and stable for you. So once you find that comfortable seated position, you can extend your legs or cross them. If you find that your hips are really tight or your knees are speaking to you, feel free to place a blanket or a pillow under your hips. Just sit on something to elevate your seat. If you're new to yoga, you probably don't have the props, but you have other items available in your house that you could use. If your knees are a little uncomfortable, you could always place yoga blocks or pillows under them for additional support. The object is to be comfortable. If you're in a seat, you just sit with your knees extended, feet flat on the floor, and you begin. Rest your hands in your lap and close your eyes. Turn your senses inward. It's better not to have a television going, maybe having soft music in the background. What I'd like you to do next is to focus on your breath. In yoga, we breathe through our nose, taking an in-breath and pausing for a second or two, then exhaling deeply through your nose, ridding your body of all the excess air that you may be holding in your belly. Reach downward into your diaphragm as deeply as you can go to make room for your next inhale breath. And you begin to find a cycle of breath throughout your practice. If you find that you're holding your breath when we're practicing poses, simply stop the pose and reclaim your breath, rejoining us whenever you have that cycle of breath in. So I'd like you to set an intention for this morning's practice, or this afternoon, or whenever you're practicing. It can be a goal. It can be a thought. Not too complicated, personal to you. Repeat it to yourself 3 times. Affirm your intention. I'd like you to bring your hands to your heart in prayer, pausing for a breath or two. Raise your arms upward, beginning to create length in your arms and your spine, holding for a moment or two. On your next exhale breath, opening the arms outward and stopping halfway. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, point your chest upward. Exhale, extending your arms, turning your palms downward. Slowly release your fingers to the floor. Hold them there and shrug your shoulders toward your ears. Then drop them down twice more, upward and downward. The last one, rolling your shoulders down and back. Roll the shoulders in one direction, then the other. In yoga, we strive to achieve balance between the front and the back of the body, between left and right, from top to bottom. I'd like you to place your hands on your knees. We're moving into a couple of torso rolls. Tilting the torso forward. You can also hold your hands to your floor or the seat if you are on a chair. Rolling your torso all the way around in great big circles. A few times. Loosening the spine. Reverse direction. slowly coiling upward to your neutral spine. We're moving into spine openers next by placing the hands on the floor in front of you. Flatten your back and keep your gaze forward, walking your hands away as far as you can until your tailbone starts to rise off the floor. I'd like you to focus on your hips. Release the tension you may be holding in the hips, the knees, the ankles. Extending the spine as far forward as you can. And sliding the hands back toward yourself, we're moving into a back bend by sweeping the hands behind us, resting them on the floor. If you're using a chair, you can hold the back of the chair. Press upward, arching the back, look up. Reverse the curve of the spine. If you work on a computer or even are seated a lot, this is not a posture that you practice very often. Press off the hands back to your neutral spine for a gentle twist toward the right. Cross the hand over to the lap or the knee. Rest the right hand on the floor for support and turn your shoulders toward the side of your mat. Unwind from this direction, twisting gently toward the left. Same setup, equal time on each side. And breathe. Remember the breath through the nose. Return to a neutral forward spine. We're moving into lateral bending next. Place your right hand on the mat. Extend the left overhead. Reach upward to create length. Exhale, tilt your torso toward the right side of the room. Breathing into your belly and out of it. Keeping both hips on the floor so you're stretching your side body as well as you can. Release the pose. Place the left hand on the floor while extending the right arm upward. Breathe in and create length upward. Then tilt the torso toward the left. Keeping your hips, keeping your buttocks on the floor, reaching your fingers toward the side of the room. Release on this side. Give your shoulders one more roll or a shrug, and extend your legs out in front of you. Give them a bit of a shake. We're moving into seated head to knee pose. Extend your right leg toward the forward corner of your mat. Bend your left knee. If this is not available to you, you can always keep this leg extended. Yoga straps, let's talk about that for a minute. There are a couple of different styles. There's one that is just like a belt, and if you don't have a yoga strap, you can use some sort of fabric, just something that will extend the length of your arms. In yoga, we also have these nifty little buckle straps. So what you would do is create a loop with the end of the strap. So either way, you can use your belt, your strap. You would extend it over the ball of your right foot. Position your torso over that extended leg. Now let me show you the other way with the buckled strap. You just simply loop it around the foot. You don't have to tighten it too much. You'd turn the torso over the extended leg and hold that loose end of the strap with both hands. Once you turn, you want to look at your elbows and make sure that they're equidistant to the floor so you're not torqued one way or the other. So I'll take one of these off and proceed into the pose. So you have your torso turned. You have an upright spine with a forward gaze. Relax your left knee and your left hip. Take a giant breath in. And on your exhale breath, keep your elbows close to your ribs and forward fold. Try to reach your chin toward your big toe. Go as far as you can. I'm calling that your edge, your comfortable edge. So don't overstretch. Go easy. And once you find that edge, shorten the distance between your hands and your foot. You can walk your hands up the ends of the strap. Once you find that comfortable edge, I'd like you to relax into the pose. Keep the elbows on that even plane and feel the stretch in your left hip, perhaps your right hamstring. You even feel it in your spine. This is a pretty complete, a pretty intense stretch. So if you're not able to breathe, back out of it just a bit. Hold it for a few more rounds of breath. And on your next exhale breath, let go of the strap and release your hands to the floor. Round your back, drop your forehead toward your knee. This is called seated head to knee. If you find this is too intense for you, you can back out of the pose a bit, or you can bend up your knee and try to connect the forehead to it. Just breathe and hold the pose for a couple rounds of breath. Coming out of the pose, you do so gradually. Once you're upright, gather both ends of the strap into your right hand, close to your foot. Drop your elbow to your knee or thigh and turn your chest to face forward. Bring your left arm overhead as if you're reaching for your toes. Then hand that strap up. Hold on to it, keeping your right foot on the floor. Now look at your left elbow and press the elbow and the gaze upward toward the ceiling. You're stretching the left side body. You may feel this in various places. No one is wired quite the same. Just breathe and stretch. We're releasing the pose by lowering the elbow. We'll go to the other side. Place the strap on the left foot this time, bending the right knee or supporting it with a block, perhaps extending that leg. If you're seated on a chair, you would extend the leg on the angle. Either way, loop the strap around the ball of the foot. Have your elbows close to your ribs with an upright spine, filling your belly with breath. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, forward fold. Now try to keep your back perfectly flat, aiming your chin toward your big toe. So you're not looking at your knee or the floor at this point. You're finding that comfortable edge and shortening the distance between the hands and the foot, walking up the end of the strap. If you can touch both sides of your foot with your fingers, you can let go of the strap. Otherwise, these straps are a great extension of the length of your arms. So hold there for a moment and breathe in and out. Just easy breath. You can always tell if you have gone too far in a pose if you lose your breath, if you're holding it, or if it becomes more labored, you know you need to back out of the pose a bit. On your next out breath, surrender into the pose. That means releasing the strap, lowering the hands to the floor, round the back, drop the forehead to the knee, making those adjustments that I mentioned on the other side. Just round forward, trying to connect the forehead to the knee. It may never happen, but your brain and body have a means of communicating if you send that message. Coming up out of the pose, bring the torso back to upright, gathering the ends of the strap into the hand close to the foot and dropping the elbow to the knee. We're going into our rotation next. So point your chest forward, sweep your right arm overhead, reach up, hold on to the strap with the foot resting on the floor. Bring your gaze and the elbow toward the ceiling, opening the right side body, and breathe a few rounds of breath. Release the pose. You can place the strap somewhere close to the side of your mat for now. We're going to our bellies next. So I'd like you to lie flat on the floor. Toes and heels together. Have your elbows close to your ribs. They are bent. We're going into our spine strengtheners. Keep your feet flat on the floor as well as you can. Have your palms flat on the floor just by your chest. Fingertips should be close to your shoulders. If you look down, you check your alignment. Tighten up your cobra tail. We're going into cobra pose from here. So keep your hips on the floor. Take a deep breath in and begin to peel the upper body off the mat, beginning with the chin, the throat, the upper chest. You can look forward, pressing into the hands as well as you can. Keep breathing. You may shake a little. And release the pose. Bring your belly back down to the mat. Release your arms to your sides. You can stack your hands one over the other to make a pillow for your forehead, or you can rest your arms by your sides. Turn your head in one direction. Bring your toes close. Allow your heels to fall open. Take the load off your spine and just breathe. A little resting period. Continuing to breathe through your nose. A lot of times when you start to do these belly down poses, you end up getting a little more of a rapid breath. So keep the breath easy. Next, we're going into a half locust. So bring your chin to the mat. Flip your palms so they're resting on your mat or on the floor. Relax your left leg completely. Engage every muscle in your right leg from your tush to your toes. Take a deep breath in and lift that leg off the floor. Try to keep both hips on the mat, pointing the toes. Every muscle in that leg is strong. It's straight and engaged. Holding for a breath or two. Release the leg to the floor and relax it completely. This time we're working with the left leg. Again, engage every muscle in the leg. Point your toes. Keep the leg straight. Press into the hands. On your in-breath, lift the leg off the floor. It may be that it comes off the floor an inch. It may be 6 inches. Just work with the body you walked into your practice with. Release the foot to the floor. Make sure your hands are hugging your mat. Bring your mouth to the floor to protect your neck. Now I'd like you to zip up your cobra tail. Bring your toes, your heels together. Engage every muscle in both legs as though it's a mermaid tail. And lift those legs off the floor, holding the pose. Release the feet to the floor. We're moving into another of those resting poses. You can flip your palms back upward, bring your toes close, your heels apart. You can turn your head in one direction or rest your hands on folded hands. Resting your head on folded hands, that is. Our next pose is called airplane pose. So extend your arms from side to side like an airplane. Bring your toes and heels together, your chin to the mat. I'd like you to engage every muscle in your arms and your legs. Make them strong, make them straight, engaged. And take a deep breath in and lift off with the chest and the arms, and add the legs. Lifting as high as you can. Imagine that you're flying high overhead. Now you may be shaking a little, you may be losing your breath. You can lower in altitude, or you can climb higher. Release gently as though you're landing a plane. Retract your wings and rest for a breath or two. So we've stretched our hamstrings a couple of times. Next, we are going to work on our quadriceps. The quads are 4 muscles in the front upper part of your leg. So you can use a strap. Where we're going with this is you're going to begin on the left side. I'd like you to bend your knee, keeping the knees together. Perhaps you can reach the top of your foot with the palm of the left hand. If that's not available to you today, you can always roll onto your side, place the strap on the foot, and use that strap as an extension of your arm. Don't try to use your pant leg or anything else. You can stay on your side, or you can roll back onto your belly, keeping the knees together. Bend that knee as deeply as you can, and once you've found a comfortable edge, I'd like you to press your hips into the floor. You'll feel a wonderful stretch from the knee all the way to where your hip is. So stretching the quads. Release the pose on this side. You can set your strap up or simply bend the knee, reaching for the top of the foot with the right hand. When you have your grip, I'd like you to keep your knees together. Bend the knee as deeply as you can, and press the hips toward the floor. Just breathe into it. And release the pose. Last resting pose on your belly. Bringing your arms to your sides, toes close, heels fall open. Take the load off your spine. It probably feels really good right now. You can close your eyes or open them. We're coming to our hands and knees now, into a quick balance pose. So this is called tabletop position. You place your hands flat on the floor, directly under your shoulders. If your wrists are problematic, you can always make fists and rest on the tops of the knuckles. Your knees are about hip width apart. Your feet are as flat to the floor as you can manage. Now look down and wag your tail from side to side. Just moving your hips. You can also make some circles. And then return to your neutral table. We're moving into a balance pose, everyone's favorites. We're beginning with the right leg, one arm, one leg balance. So fix your gaze on your mat. Extend your right leg and tuck the toes on the mat. Rocking on the ball of the foot a couple of times back and forth. Shift the weight forward. Point the toes, engage every muscle in the leg, then lift it to hip height, leveling your hips to the mat. Stabilize on the remaining 3 limbs, then extend the left arm. One arm, one leg balance. Engage your core, keep yourself strong and steady. Releasing the hand and the knee to the floor. Now you may be feeling this in your back right now. You could always move into a quick child's pose by opening your knees and sitting your hips toward your heels. Dropping your head as close to the mat as you can and taking a resting pose between sides. Coming out of your child's pose, return to your tabletop for one arm, one leg balance on the other side. So fix your gaze on the mat once again. It helps you to focus and balance a little more effectively. Extend the left leg, tucking the toes on the mat, rocking on the ball of the foot a couple of times. Stretching the underside of the foot as well as the calf. Shift forward. Point the toes, extend the legs, straight, strong, engaged, lifting to hip height. Level your hips to the floor. Extend the right arm overhead, one arm, one leg balance. Release the hand and the knee to the floor. Return to your child's pose for a moment. Just breathe into the pose. If child's pose is not completely comfortable for you, you can always fold your arms, rest your head on the mat. If your feet are tight, you can always place a blanket under the upper part of the feet. Sometimes that takes a little bit of pressure off of the ankles and feet. Just roll into a ball. It's child's pose. We are coming to our feet next. Sometimes this can be a bit of a challenge. So if you have a chair nearby, you would have it on a surface that's not slippery. You could place your hands on the chair seat itself and shift your weight forward. You can step one foot forward, press into the seat to the other foot, then come upright. The other option you have, I'll give you three. From your child's pose, you can come into a ragdoll by tucking your toes, walking your hands toward your knees. You press into your hands onto the balls of the feet, up to the soles of your feet. Now let's practice a ragdoll from here. Ragdoll has the arms and the head hanging heavy. Your knees are soft and bent. From ragdoll, you would connect your hands somewhere to your legs and roll up slowly to standing. Very slowly, because when you go from down to up, sometimes you can get a little dizzy, so move slowly. Your third option, if you have been practicing with Barbara and me for a while, you have the option of downward facing dog. So you place your hands on the mat, about shoulder width apart. You tuck your toes to the mat. You bring your hips upward, resting your ears between your elbows, pedaling your heels one at a time. You can adjust your stance if need be. You try to lower your feet to the floor, resting those ears as close to the biceps as you can. Try to keep your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Downward facing dog is a resting pose. So once you've had a few rounds of breath in this pose, you can look at your hands and walk the hands and feet closer together, resting in ragdoll. Now these are three very possible options for most of you. So however you can get to your feet is how you should do it. Safely. So once you're upright, just swing around in Tai Chi swings. From side to side. Your feet are about hip width apart. You swing the arms around. If you get a little dizzy, keep your gaze forward. Don't bring the head from side to side. All right. So we're going to begin with our standing work. Let's begin with the basis of all standing work. It's called mountain pose. Your feet are very slightly apart. You may find that the inner part of your knees touch. You bring the torso upright. the shoulders back with your arms by your sides, your gaze forward. This is mountain. It's considered a balance pose. Most of our students groan every time we do balance poses, but they are your friend, especially as you get a little bit older. Falls are always a possibility, and the steadier you are on your feet, the safer you can be. So I'd like you to lift your toes off the floor and find the four corners of your feet. And what I mean by that are by your big toes, on the outer parts of your little toes, and then on the edges of your heels. So lift the toes, release them. Take a couple of deep breaths in your mountain pose. From here, we're moving into our warrior poses. You can practice your warriors in a chair. I'll provide that instruction after we do the poses in standing, and you can decide for yourself which is more appropriate for you. So our warriors are strong standing poses. You may find the blocks are helpful in your warriors. You may find that a chair is helpful in various parts of your warriors. So begin centered on your mat, opening your feet to a wide standing straddle. Go as wide as you can. Keep your left foot parallel to the end of your mat and turn your right toes toward the short end of your mat. Then bring your hips to face forward. Your torso remains centered. You can place your hand on your right thigh and bend that knee. Give it a quick glance. Your knee should be directly over your toes, your torso straight up and down. Sweep your arms out to the sides and turn your gaze toward your right fingers. Now, I need to widen my stance a little bit to get into the full expression of the pose. This is Warrior 2. Strong pose. Only hold it for as long as you can. We're moving into reverse exalted warrior from here by straightening the bent knee, dropping the back hand, and turning the right hand upwards, sweeping it and your gaze toward the sky. For a deeper back bend, bend the elbow, reaching it overhead if you wish. Looking at your right forearm, slowly lower the arm toward the floor, followed by your gaze. Now look at your big toe. Fix your gaze on something that's not moving and shorten your stance a bit. Pointing your left toes toward the side of your mat, you angle the toes so you can rotate your hips. Bring your hands to your hips, rotate them toward the side of the mat, then bend the right knee. Keep the torso upright, sweeping the arms overhead. Relax your shoulders down and back. This is Warrior 1. Lower the hands to the forward thigh and straighten the bent knee. We're moving into Warrior 3 now. You can decide for yourself whether this is an appropriate pose for you. If you have a chair nearby, you can shift your weight forward and rest your hands on the seat. Then lift off with the left leg, looking down. A lot like that one arm, one leg balance. Lower the left foot to the floor. Press off the seat back and return to upright. So your warriors in a chair would take place much the same. You'd sit on the seat. You'd bring the right leg outward, followed by the left leg behind you, and extend your arms from side to side. For Warrior 1, you would straighten that leg as well as you can, lifting the arms upward, relaxing the shoulders. if you are practicing in a chair, Warrior 3 probably is not appropriate for you. So let's go to the other side in our warriors. Place the chair on, well, I'll give you another option actually. So Warrior 3 for more experienced practitioners would have your blocks on the corners of your mat. So we'll begin in that mountain pose, taking a deep breath in and out, and opening to a wide standing straddle. Your right foot is parallel to the short end of the mat. The left toes point toward the short end of the mat. Bring your hips to face forward. Bend your left knee. Adjust your stance if need be, extending the arms from side to side. Gaze at your left fingertips. Be sure that you're not tilting toward the future, that your torso is in the present, straight up and down. And just breathe. Release the arms, straighten the bent knee, then lift the left arm and the gaze upward for reverse exalted warrior. Increasing the back bend if you wish by bending the elbow. Looking at your left forearm, lower the arm and the gaze downward. Once the arm is lowered, you shorten your stance a bit. Heel toeing the back foot in, angling it, rotating the hips toward the short end of the mat, bending the left knee, lifting the arms overhead. Warrior 1. Your gaze can be forward or upward. And lower the hands to the forward thigh and straighten the bent knee. For Warrior 3, I'd like you to forward bend gently, placing your hands on the blocks. Shift your weight forward and walk the blocks away one at a time while lifting off with the right leg this time. Be sure that your hips are level to the floor. Your gaze is downward. Warrior 3. Lower your foot to the floor, soften your knees a bit, and press off the blocks, rolling up to standing. You can roll your shoulders around in one direction or the other. It's time for a balance pose or two. So we're going to practice tree. We could practice tree in a chair. We could practice tree up against a wall. It helps to have a shorter point of focus. We call that a dristi. So if you want to walk up to a wall that has a little speck or a picture or something that you can stare at, that's probably going to help you more than standing in the center of the room. But for demonstration purposes, we'll begin in mountain. Bring your hands to your hips or your heart, or a stable means of support nearby, like a shelf, nothing on wheels or anything that slips or slides. So I'd like you to begin by fixing your gaze. Now keep your hips on an even plane and simply soften your right knee, rounding onto the ball of the foot, tightening up your core muscles. Turn the right foot and knee outward, resting your heel on the left ankle. Remain upright and tall, like a tree trunk. And when you're ready, lift the right foot off the floor. You can press your toes to the floor. This could be your tree today. You could lift the foot off the floor, resting the sole of the foot on the opposite calf. If you've been practicing for a while, you can deeply bend the knee and bring the sole of the foot into the upper thigh. Never bring the foot anywhere close to the knee, so don't go here. Low or high. Holding the pose, not holding your breath. when you're ready, release the foot to the floor and roll the ankle of the standing leg. You may find that there's too much cushion on your mat. Try it on a bare floor. Returning to mountain, upright, tall. Soften the left knee, that is. Turn it out toward the side. Rest the heel on the right ankle. Zip up your core. Stabilize on that standing foot. Remember those 4 corners of the feet that we talked about. When you're ready, come into the tree pose of choice for today. Low or high, or you can keep your toes on the floor if you wish. Balance is something that you build a skill set for. Most of us don't have great balance. Practice it as often as you can. If you are in the supermarket, in line at the checkout, you can hold on to the shopping cart, lift a foot off the floor, and practice your balance right there. You don't have to be in this part of the pose. You can just lift the foot, support yourself on one foot at a time. So you release your tree pose, move into a couple of standing cats and dogs. Press your hands to your thighs and sit in an imaginary chair. Then round and arch your back a couple of times. Just moving the spine in every which way. Ending with a round back, coming to your mountain pose. We're coming to the floor next. We're winding our practice down. We're cooling down. So lie on the mat, flat on your back, into a child's pose on your back. Have a strap nearby. We're stretching our hamstrings in this portion of the class. So lie down. If your neck is uncomfortable, feel free to slide a pillow or blanket under the head for additional support. Bringing one knee to the chest, followed by the other. Give yourself a big hug, a child's pose on your back. Just breathing in and out, taking the load off your spine. Sinking every bone in your back to the mat. Release the pose, release the hug. Lower the feet to the floor, extending one leg at a time. We're moving into wind removing pose. Keep your left toes pointing upward. Bend your right knee and draw it toward your chest. Try to interlace your fingers like so. Placing the grip over the shin, draw the knee as close to your chest as you can. You don't need to contort yourself. You simply hug the knee to chest. Release the pose on this side, extending the leg to meet the other. Oftentimes, once the heel touches the floor, you think to yourself, oh, one leg is longer than the other. So let's even that out now. Bending the left knee, drawing it toward the chest, interlacing your fingers over the shin. Hug that knee as close to your chest as you can. Try not to have chicken wings. Try to keep the elbows close to the ribs. Hugging as close as you can. Release the pose on this side. Release the hug. Extend the legs. They're a little more even now. Bend your knees. We're moving into some windshield wipers. Bring the feet to the edges of your mat or about I would say 2 feet apart. Have your arms resting by your sides. Simply drop both knees in one direction. You can hold there or move from side to side. I find that slower feels a lot better and it releases a lot more tension in your hips. So move from side to side. It is a rainy day in Londonderry today, so windshield wipers are in order. I have students who could do windshield wipers and Tai Chi swings the whole time we're in class. So from here, we're moving into a half lotus hip opener. Bring the feet about 6 inches apart, about hip width apart. Bring your hands to the floor. Relax into the mat. Cross your left leg over the right thigh. Try to press that knee away from the body as well as you can to open your hip socket a bit. Stabilize your core. Bring the low back all the way to the upper back, flat to the mat. Once you're in place, lift the right foot off the floor and draw that knee toward the chest. You can hold under the thigh, keep your head on the floor. You can interlace your fingers over the right shin, wherever you can find your grip. Another option is to loop a strap around the back of the thigh and hold like so. There are many adaptations for yoga poses that we really can't get into in 1 hour. So you want to hold the pose in stillness for a few rounds of breath, trying to relax your hips, your spine, relax your shoulders, have an easy grip, and just breathe in and out of your nose. If you'd like a greater stretch under the left hip, you can tilt your bottom slightly toward the right. You'll feel that from the glute halfway down the hamstring. Tilt back to center, release your grip, and lower the foot to the floor. Uncross the ankle, rest for 1 breath, and then cross the right ankle over the left thigh, pressing the knee open and away from the body, never with any force. Stabilize your core, bring your back flat to the floor, lifting the left foot off the floor, finding an appropriate grip for yourself. It might be different on one side than it is on the other. Hug the knee as close to your chest as you can, relaxing the hips, the spine. Relax your grip as well as you can. Just breathe through your nose. I mentioned support under your head. Now, if you don't have anything under your head, let me show you something. Oftentimes, people have some skeletal issues and they end up like this, and that puts a lot of strain on your neck. If this is you, I urge you to place something under the neck to take that stress off the cervical spine. So if you'd like a little greater stretch under the right hip, tilt your bottom slightly toward the left this time. Keep the grip. Return to center, release the grip, lower the foot, uncross the ankle. So one of our final stretches is the hamstring area. The strap works great for this. I'd like you to loop it around the ball of the left foot, one end in each hand. If you have one of the buckle straps, you can hold both ends. Just have a nice easy grip. Keep the leg straight and draw the leg toward yourself and slightly away from yourself a couple of times. We're finding our comfortable edge. You can bend the right knee, resting the foot on the floor for stability, or you can extend it, whatever works best for you. And when you find that comfortable edge, I'd like you to hold the leg as close to yourself as you can without the leg shaking. So if you've gone a little too far, your leg is going to tremble. If that is you, release the leg slightly away and hold the pose where you are. Just breathing in and breathing out. Release the leg away from you slightly and place the strap in your left hand. Anchor your right side to the floor and extend the right leg to the floor with toes pointing upward. We're moving into sleeping big toe pose. Keep that right hip on the floor and drop your left leg out toward the side of your mat. When your hip starts to come off the mat, I'd like you to come out of the pose just a bit and hold where you are. We're opening the inner thigh, the groin muscles, so don't go too far. Draw the leg back toward the ceiling, bending the knee. Release the strap from that leg. Loop it around the ball of your right foot. And find your comfortable edge on this side. Moving the leg toward you and away just a few times. And then holding the pose without the leg shaking. Nice, easy hamstring stretch. Breathing through your nose. In breath and out breath. Setting up for sleeping big toe pose, you release the leg slightly and place the strap in your right hand. Anchor your left side to the mat, extending that leg. Toes are pointed up. Drop the right leg out toward the right side of your mat. You can rest on your elbow if you wish. The strap helps to support the leg while it is suspended in mid-air. Holding the pose, opening the inner thighs. And release the pose. We're finished with the strap. We're moving into a full body stretch, one of the nicest stretches in class. Bring your toes, heels together. Stretch your legs out. Then lift the arms overhead. Point the toes away from you, point the fingertips away from you, and stretch yourself out as much as you can from the fingertips to the bottoms of your feet, the toes. Stretching as long, as tall as you've been all day long today. Fill your belly with a giant breath, and on your exhale breath, release the pose, release the breath. You're in a perfect setup for Savasana, which is our last pose. It is a pose of rest. It is a pose of stillness, so stay on the floor. You can lie with your head supported by a pillow. You can place a pillow under your knees for support. You can roll over onto your side if that is more comfortable for you. I'd like you to become as comfortable as you can. Then close your eyes or soften your gaze, looking up at the ceiling. Savasana is the time of rest where the body and the mind have an opportunity to connect, to create balance, to create unity. All you have to do is breathe. Relaxing the arms and the legs. Relaxing the whole entire body into the surface upon which it rests. As you sink your body to the earth, I'm going to guide you through a progressive meditation. It will begin at the top of your head. When you hear my words, shift your attention very briefly to that place, then move to the next part. And if your attention wanders, don't worry about it. Once you find that attention again, just rejoin us. From the top of the head, we move to the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyelids, the eyeballs in their sockets, even your eyelashes. Move to the nose, the top of the nose, the bridge, the tip, the nostrils, and outward to the cheeks and ears. Move to the upper lip, the lower lip, relaxing the tongue in the mouth, relaxing the jaw, the chin. Relax the throat. Relax the collarbones, the tops of the shoulders. Move downward toward the arms. Relax the biceps and the triceps, the elbows inside and out, the forearms inside and out, as well as your wrists. Relax your hands front and back, allowing your fingers to fall open, ready to accept energy from the earth. Travel up the arms to the armpits, relaxing the armpits, the top of the chest. Relax the sternum. Relax your belly, your diaphragm, the side body. Relax the tops of your hips. Relax your pelvis, the fronts of the legs, the quads that we stretch, the kneecaps, the shins, the ankles, the tops of the feet, and each of your toes. Moving to the balls, the arches, and the heels of your feet. Relax the entire sole of each foot, left and right. Relax the backs of the ankles, the calves, the backs of your knees, the hamstrings. Relax your buttocks. Relax the low back. Relax the middle back. Relax your shoulders. Relax the neck, the back of the head. Travel to the top of the head where we began and relax your whole entire body, from top to bottom, left and right, inside and out. Take a couple more deep, full breaths, feeling completely relaxed, perhaps feeling new energy from your practice. I thank you for joining me for this yoga session today. Until we can practice again together, namaste.